want to talk about guilt because recently in my practice, it's been coming up just constantly. So many people feeling guilty from all kinds of things, ranging from, guilty about setting a boundary, guilty about the fact that, I was a people pleaser and now I'm trying to change, but I feel guilty about the years that I, wasted pleasing people and not taking care of myself. Guilt seems to come up in so many different places in our lives. And, I want to talk about guilt. Guilt is when we feel like we are doing something wrong. You can feel it. You can feel it happening. Okay. And if I describe how it happens to me, it doesn't happen to me a lot these days because I'm so aware of it that I catch it. But back in the day, like I can remember the spiral. It begins like somebody says they have a problem. I know I have the ability to help them with that problem, even though it may be better for them that they help themselves with that problem. But it's like this spiral that starts in my brain and it's like, but I should, but maybe I have the solution or what they need because I'm supposed to help them. Maybe I should do it. Maybe I should, I shouldn't be so selfish, right? And some of that comes from, I talk about this sometimes, I was raised in a fundamental religion that I'm no longer a part of. But sometimes in religion, I'm not saying all religion, because I think that there are a lot of great, things in different religions and spirituality today. But I was raised in one particular, and I think each church is their own thing, right? They are their own group of people, their own group of teachings, their own group of how they do things. It's like, anyway, but the one that I grew up in was well-meaning, yes. They were trying to follow something that would get them somewhere, right? I mean, got to give them credit for that. But there was a lot of guilt, like, if somebody needs something, you should provide that. If, somebody's going through a hard time, you don't need to be having a good time. You need to help those people having a hard time. And I also want to point out that may have just been my takeaway from this particular church. And maybe that wasn't what they were doing at all. Maybe that was just my takeaway. Okay. Because I never want to, assume that I know what other people are thinking or doing. So anyway, that spiral goes inside and we start to should on ourselves. I should feel this way. I should do this thing. I should care more. I should be less selfish. I should give more of myself, more of my life, more of my resources. But I think it's a learned thing that we need to be aware of so that we can be clear and get clarity on, is it true guilt or is it false guilt, right? Because true guilt would be, I'll give an example of true guilt. True guilt would be, I went over to my neighbor's house and slapped her across the face. Yes, you're guilty of that. You did that. That's real, right? I stole something from someone. Guilty, right? There's a place for guilt. There really is. But this is the kind of guilt where it's kind of like, okay, so I speak mostly about loving ourselves and self-care, right? Because a lot of us people pleaser types, codependent types, we have spent our lives putting others first and others' needs first and ignoring our own, like just ignoring our own, ignoring our mental health, ignoring our emotional health, ignoring our physical health in order to help other people because we thought that's what we were supposed to do. So there's this guilt that we have that's kind of inside us that just kind of creeps up sometimes if we're not aware of it. That's why awareness is the catalyst to change, right? So when you're aware that you are feeling guilty and that you are spiraling down into this should zone. I should. Be aware and look at it and get clarity. And you can even ask for clarity. I ask all the time. I mean, there are, whatever you want to call it, the universe, God, guides, angels, whatever you want to call it. There is a good, loving force, available to us that we can ask. And we will get guidance on whether we should truly feel guilty and then do something about it. It's not like a life sentence, right? If we're guilty of something, it's okay. Own it, deal with it, make amends, do what you need to do, apologize, whatever it is. But if it's false guilt, you don't want that. It brings depression, and it takes away from your self-care, and it takes away from your love for yourself, okay? So that's why I want you to be aware of false guilt. Okay, thank you.